Okay, hi everybody. This is a new creation.
We've never done before.
Yeah.
Something new.
We just to lead people to this video for anybody who has questions about how to use all the study tips and tools and everything that we created. We just wanted to house them all in just one place.
And the Advent wreath and our new timeline. And this will just be like, okay, how are we supposed to use that again? Come here. This is your resource for all things study tools.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to start with Christmas since Christmas is coming first. Okay. So this year we are studying for the Come Follow Me Christmas lesson studies the living Christ. But we decided instead of 1 week, we wanted to study it all month because it kind of creates a really cool Advent or a countdown anticipation for Christmas. So if you get into the living Christ, you'll see one of the things that the apostles did is they highlighted several of Jesus's names. We counted 25. Don't count 26. If there are, don't tell us. It seems funner.
You might count more. All the better. You can start at Thanksgiving.
Yeah. We pulled out 25 of them and thought that would be really cool through the month of December to highlight 25 different names of Jesus and talk about what that name means and how you may have seen him like that, as that particular name.
So what we did is you have this blank space on your journal. If you don't have a journal, you can totally make this Advent by just using anything that has 25 spaces. My family loves doing these things, so I'm going to use
And we've
this
done
as
socks. Well. You know, we hang up 25 Christmas socks and put something in it, or envelopes.
However you want to make an Advent. You can even Google Advents and see. We have this in the newsletter, or it's also at Deseret Book by our Emmanuel wreath, which we'll tell you about in a minute, that you can just print this out, and then what you're going to do is cut out each of these little squares if you're making an Advent. So those squares fit perfectly in your journal. If you want to just tape them on every single day, you can. And this is and then let's tell about, when we started talking about this, we were like, we knew exactly what we wanted because we are all about light at Christmas. And so we designed what we call the Emmanuel wreath. We love the name Emmanuel. It's found in the living Christ. It means God with us. And we just love thinking about Jesus Christ being part of our Christmas celebration starting on December 1st. And so we kind of want to walk you through what an Advent night is going to look like at our house every single day, so you can kind of see. So you're going to start with the living Christ. And this wreath goes in order of the names in the Living Christ document. So does this paper. So you're going to start out with the Living Christ. It's the title of what we'll be studying. So on night 1, we would light the candle. If you're using the Emmanuel wreath, you'll light the candle that says Living Christ. You'll just light that.
The names are just right here along the edges in case you couldn't see that.
Or if you just want to use a candle, we just love the idea of bringing light in. My kids and grandkids love just devotionals with a candle lit, so we always do that. Then what we would do in our home is we will start out with the Living Christ document, and we're going to start that first night and read about commemorating the birth of Jesus Christ 2 millennia ago, and we'll just read this first little part of the Living Christ. You might want to go through and just mark all the names on your Living Christ document because you're only going to read each night the sentence that contains the name that you're studying. Then after we read the line in the Living Christ that introduces us to that name, we would look up the scriptures. So the first one is going to be Doctrine and Covenants 76:22 through 24 that's found on this paper.
Yeah, we just linked up a scripture with every single name.
So then you might have someone in your family read the scripture, which is...
So this is 76:22 to 24. And now, after the many testimonies which have been given of him, this is the testimony last of all which we give of him, that he lives. For we saw him, even on the right hand of God, and we heard the voice bearing record, he's the only begotten of the Father, that by him and through him and of him the worlds are and were created, and the inhabitants thereof are begotten sons and daughters unto God. So you would just read that verse and you could talk about it. You could talk about how he is the living Christ right now, how you may have seen him throughout the year as the living Christ, and just a really short devotional that includes a scripture, a name, a little bit from the living Christ, and light.
And then what we're going to do is the first night we will light the living Christ. The second night we will light the living Christ and then Jehovah, because that's going to be the next sentence that comes, that one line that says he is the Jehovah of the Old Testament. And then that's the only line we would use. Then the third night we would light the living Christ, Jehovah, and then this is going to be he is the Messiah of the New Testament. So then we would have 3. So when you get all done, you'll have all 25 lit. And this is something we will do this Christmas, but I think we will do this every Christmas and also at Easter. I really love the idea of counting down towards Easter. And we love the idea of just asking every night, where have you seen him as a teacher? Where have you seen him as a healer this year? Where have you seen his goodness in your life? And so to be able to go through and just bring those conversations of Christ into your home. You can do it this way. You can do it this way if you want to. You can do it this way if you want. You just bring it to life however you want to at your home. But we are so excited. We will be highlighting each of the names on our Don't Miss This Study Instagram. So if you aren't following that and you are an Instagram user or Facebook, it's going to pop up on Instagram and Facebook every day starting December 1st. So we're super excited about that.
So excited, it just made me sneeze.
Okay, then next let's talk about the timeline.
Oh, timeline.
So we are telling you about this timeline in the video that also came out this week. But we are so excited about this for the Old Testament. So many of you have told us you are intimidated. It feels daunting. It just feels too big. You don't know what's happening there. There's so many themes and people and names that aren't familiar. And we are super visual learners, which is why we have all these study tools, because we are really hands-on and we just need to see how it works. So we created this timeline. This is free. Everything you need is in our newsletter. And you can just print it off. You're going to print off this. There's a PDF for this. You just print it black and white. Any copy shop should be able to print it for you 2 feet by 3 feet. You can take it somewhere to be dry mounted. I went to Hobby Lobby to just get this all dry mounted. And this is going to start as soon as we start the lessons. So the last week of December. So you might want to start putting this together right now. All of these squares are numbered 1 through 25. Because every week in the newsletter, we are going to send you a new piece.
1 through 52, actually.
What did I say?
25.
Because I was at Christmas.
You wanted Christmas again.
1 through 50. All of a sudden, the Old Testament was going to be done in 25 weeks. 52, 1 through 52. And every week in the newsletter, we are going to show you which piece to use. When you get this, there is a document that comes with it that has 13 pages and a letter from us telling you what to do. But all of the pieces you're just going to print off right at the very beginning, so you have everything you could possibly need. And you can either cut them out week by week as we tell you which one to use. Why is that happening?
That's your computer. Okay, or you can print them out and cut them out all at once. I can't remember which option you gave first, Emily, but both of those. You could either print them out all at once and put them...
Let's just start over right here and we'll just
and just splice it. Oh, okay. Wave your scriptures so you know.
And we'll just get it. Okay. The second thing that you get is this document. This PDF that has 13 pages, and they're all colored. These are all the pieces you're going to need for the timeline. You can just cut these out, and if you want to, all at the very beginning. Or cut them out week by week if you want, when we show you which one is going up for that week's lesson. And then you're just going to start putting these on. And the timeline will start looking like this. So that you can be like, oh, that's right. Here's how it started with Moses. Then we talk about the creation. Adam and Eve came, then Enoch. And then Enoch created Zion. And then we meet Noah. And then Abraham and Isaac and Jacob. And here's when they split into the 12 tribes of Israel. And we meet Tamar and then Joseph, and then we're going to go into Egypt, and it's just going to walk you through the entire Old Testament with all of these things. David thinks it's going to be so fun halfway through to take everything off and then see if his kids can remember what order and what was happening and what was going on. So we'll be using this all year long.
And we talked to a friend of ours who teaches a Sunday school class, a youth Sunday school class, or a primary class, or adult, any Sunday school class, to just bring it every time they teach and be like, okay, this is where we're at in the story. This is how everybody kind of relates to each other, and this is what's happened in the past, and all that kind of stuff.
And one of the things that you love is, and that we aren't as familiar with, is the Old Testament actually does a repeat halfway through. So you go through the whole history. This one just has the history up only. So you come all the way through all of the people, the end of the northern kingdom, you get to the southern kingdom, Babylon, and then Persia, and then Esther. And then Esther is kind of the end of the story. But you still have Psalms and Isaiah and all of the prophets at the end. And it's so fun on a timeline to be able to go back and be like, okay, here's where the Psalms happened. This is where Proverbs would have come in. Here's where Isaiah was, and this is the prophets in the northern kingdom, and these were the prophets in the southern kingdom, and this is what they were prophesying, and here's when Lehi left, and here's Jeremiah, and when you come in, this is where Daniel goes, right here, so that you can start seeing, oh, when all of a sudden it feels like you're like, wait, didn't we already learn this? Then you're like, oh yeah, we already did. We did learn all about this in Kings. But then when Isaiah shows up, we remember, oh yeah, he's in that Kings and Chronicles part of the story. And that helps us. So when it's fully done,
at the very end of the year, it will just be all finished and look like this. And you'll see exactly where everybody fit and everyone went. And it's neat because it gets to the end and you're like, Babylon took over, then Persia, then Greece, then Rome. And Rome was in charge when baby Jesus was born. So it shows you how at the end it even connects into the New Testament.
And we love too that Lehi is going to leave, and then we're going to watch the Book of Mormon taking place on the timeline while all of these other things are happening. So it just marries everything we know together in one place so that we can kind of picture it all together. So that is free. It's in the newsletter. It will all come in the newsletter, everything you need. So just make sure you're signed up for the newsletter. www.don'tmissthisstudy.com is where you're going to find that.
And then the future newsletters that come, if you haven't signed up yet, we'll put them in there so that whenever you sign up, you will get that PDF sent to you. The pieces themselves, I would print color. It just looks really pretty. In fact, there's these 12 paintings that are original. Eva Timothy just commissioned these exactly for this. And so they just look really pretty in color. This engineer print, the big one, just do black and white. It only needs to be black and white, and it'll be way cheaper like that. Don't accidentally do it color. But do the pieces color when they print out.
So this is fun. When I went to Hobby Lobby to print that off, I met a lady working in the print shop, or whatever, frame shop. She was in the frame shop, who knew who we were and started telling us how she uses all of our study tools. And it was the greatest idea. I came right home and said, David, this is so smart. So I want to share a little bit about her idea, and then we're going to talk to you about each of our study tools. But for Christmas, she gives each of her kids one of the study tools, and whatever one they open, they are actually the expert of that tool for the entire year. So one of her kids will get the Word a Week poster. And then on Mondays, they are the expert of pulling that out for their family scripture study Monday night. They teach the Word, they take you to the scripture, they talk about what you're going to learn, and then that child is totally in charge of family scripture study on Monday nights. And then on Tuesday nights, somebody else is in charge of the devotional book, and they open up and read the devotional page, and then they get to be in charge of that for the whole year. There are enough devotionals to be able to go through like you use them. Well, let's go through. Anyways, I thought that was so fun to let someone be in charge of everything. But let's just start with the posters first and talk about. This is my favorite study tool that we have, are these posters, because I love words and I love power phrases in the scriptures. And I particularly love the Hebrew meaning of the words in the Old Testament because sometimes they teach us a really important lesson. So these posters I just hang in my home. I put it up every week. It tells me exactly what we're studying that week, so I just know at the bottom. And then we picked one of our favorite words and the verse it came out of. And then down here we wrote the Hebrew word and how to pronounce it. And then the thing you love about Hebrew words is they can mean a lot of different things. So blessing
is how it was translated into English, but
it could have been translated as firstborn privilege, benediction, prosperity, liberal, or present, a present. And we love taking all of those words and then saying, okay, every time I see that, I want to remember that's what this word means. And we'll get to experience 52 Hebrew words during the Old Testament. Some of our very most favorite Hebrew words, and we'll just be studying those every week. So,
and the word that kind of just encapsulates the lesson for that week. So that's why it's one word per week. It just matches right in the lesson that you're in.
And you just can hang it up and it can be what you ponder all week. They look like this. This year they're navy blue instead of black. This is your favorite.
Okay, I love this one. We wrote this one because I wanted it.
Flowers are in there. So
oh, okay, there's flowers in here. Everyone, yours won't come with flowers. Maybe we should put some bonus flowers in some of them in the shop. Okay, so we took, it maps out so that there's 5 per week, right?
Yes.
Isn't that about right, what it is?
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Because sometimes Saturday and Sunday are just reckless. But each day of the study, we've divided up like the study into 5 different days for that week. And there's a mini devotional that just goes with one verse. So we just like in our family right now with the age of everybody and our busy schedule to do one verse of scripture and really talk about what that idea is in that scripture. And we've just written a little story or an explanation to go with each of those scriptures throughout that week. So we every night, just before we say our prayers, we'll get together and we just read one of these together and talk about it if people are in the mood, or say prayers and go to bed if we're not in the mood. And at the end, there's also a really neat reflect and respond question, a little challenge or question, something to think about for that next day or reflect on from that current day.
Okay, these are new this year. We call these tip-ins. If you took seminary, you might have had a teacher that called these glue-ins. What these are going to be things that just help us to remember the important parts we're studying in the Old Testament. So we're going to go through the plagues, and we want to talk about each of those and how they actually came from Egyptian gods that Pharaoh and his people would have worshipped, and that connection. And then maybe you want to stick this in your scriptures permanently, so every time you get to the plagues, you're like, oh, I want to remember this. Or in Leviticus, when we're studying the feasts, you might want to know what all the Jewish feasts are and what they represented in their time. And so that every time you get to Leviticus, you're like, oh, I want to remember that. We have the tabernacle in here, what it would have looked like. So when you get to the tabernacle part, you can pull out this and say, oh, this is what a tabernacle looks like, and be able to draw it up if you're teaching. We've got some of Eva's prints are going to be in here just to remind you of the important stories.
And even I really like these because of what you said one time about them, that there is like a particular verse that's sort of like, is there not a cause the Lord will deliver? Just a little phrase that will help you remember, oh yeah, that's the lesson, that's the theme of like David's story or Esther's story. We're
going to be studying in detail Jesus's grandmothers that we read about in Matthew 1. And we're going to mark these in there so that you can be like, okay, who were those 4 grandmas and what was their story and what do we learn from them? That's going to be in there. So there's just a whole bunch of these. They are printed on really thin paper so that your scriptures won't get bulky. They'll just stay nicely in there. So years from now, when you're back looking at the Old Testament, you can look back and be like, oh, I remember exactly what is happening here. This is the important part I'm supposed to remember of this part of the Old Testament. And our goal with these, again, is first of all to help you fall in love with the story and the themes and the people in the Old Testament, but also just to make it easier and more familiar when you look back to it again.
Okay, this is our study journal, which if you are an old timer with us, you recognize this. It's new every single year. What you find, but if you're new with us, then this might be new to you. What this is it's kind of what started this whole thing in the first place, is we thought, let's teach lessons, and with every lesson, let's include like a worksheet. When we both taught seminary, we made these for our students so they could fill them out as they went through the lesson and just kind of take notes in a more organized way. So every single lesson that we do, we actually follow this as an outline. And you can fill this out and kind of study along as you do this.
And those videos are on YouTube. They're just free. They come up every single week. They used to be shorter, but then by like a landslide, everyone voted that they wanted an hour-long lesson. And something fun we are going to be trying this year is to do little 10-minute segments. So either you can watch the whole thing on Sundays, or if you want to do 10 minutes on Monday night, 10 minutes on Tuesday night, 10 minutes on Wednesday night, you'll be able to also watch them like that. And it'll work either way, but you'll have these sheets from these journals to just help you walk through the lesson.
And every week also includes, well, the dates are there so you know exactly where you're supposed to be, by the way. A blank note page that you can use just as extra study that you'll do. People take this to church with them and fill in notes from Sunday school.
I love this page.
This page right here is just one little per day. If you do a daily study and you just want to remember one scripture or one thought, one impression that you had each day of that week, it kind of becomes a journal in the end, you know, if you use it like that. And then this page each week, we're really excited about. Remember when President Nelson gave that challenge to look for and study the promises that God has made to covenant Israel. And we really want to lean into that this year and look for them and point them out every week when we find them. And there's a spot here where you can keep that each week. Here are the promises I found. This is the verse where they're at. This is what they mean. And then over here, you could be throughout the week keeping a record of where you have seen and are seeing those promises being fulfilled in your life right now. You are Israel, and these are your promises. So anyways, that is what this is. There's 52 week sections, and they all include that work page, a notes page, the daily spots page, and then the covenants to Israel page.
We're so excited about that. And then Becky Higgins, we teamed up with Becky Higgins to make these scripture stickers, which we love. Every week, there's going to be between 5 and 7 stickers that you can put either in your scriptures. If you use those wide margin scriptures, it's so fun to put these in here. And if you want to see what that looks like, go look at Becky Higgins' Instagram page, because she's going to show you exactly what this looks like. But a lot of people are using them in their journals also to just dress up your journal, the note page. These are usually our favorite one-liners from the lesson, or a question that we would ask if we were teaching that lesson. And we just leave it in our scriptures. So we're like, oh, next time I teach this, I want to remember to ask this question. I wish I could find one right here. What was not good is one of the questions that we have here. And when we get there, we'll study everything was good, but there was one thing that was not good. And what was that thing? And it's fun to just have questions every so often that just point out things that you're like, ooh, I want to remember that if I ever teach this again. So we love these scripture things. And that's it. That's all of the tools. So hopefully that just helps bring to life scripture study in your home. That's what we're hoping to do. We're hoping that all of a sudden you're like, oh, this actually makes it easier, or it simplifies it, or hopefully brings to life what you're studying every single week in different ways that maybe will help you learn better or help your kids learn better, but help you to fall in love with the scripture study process.
Yeah, and just one of the things Jenny says is she was like, I love just doing all of these things because it makes me feel like I'm in an institute class again or a seminary class again. She was like, I didn't pay too close attention the first time through, so it's kind of, even though she did more than most people, come on, but just kind of just that study, and all different styles too. We're just like, oh, some people are visual, some people are hands-on, some people are really creative, and so we just wanted to try and reach everybody, all those different types. So that's all the things that we've got, and we'll see you in the Old Testament.